Many men don't consciously choose to eat frequently. It simply becomes the way they function. Energy feels better shortly after eating. Focus improves. Fatigue fades. When intake is delayed, discomfort appears sooner than expected. Hunger feels urgent. Energy drops feel sharper. Over time, eating stops feeling optional and starts feeling necessary. By this point in the series, you've seen how metabolic flexibility declines, how insulin signaling becomes more persistent, and how access to stored energy becomes restricted. Frequent eating patterns interact directly with these changes. Metabolism depends on rhythm. In a flexible system, energy moves through clear phases. Intake is followed by storage. Storage is followed by release. Release supports activity, focus, and recovery. Insulin rises and falls, and stored energy becomes available between meals. This cycling creates resilience. When eating becomes frequent and continuous, that rhythm begins to flatten. Insulin is stimulated repeatedly throughout the day. Even modest elevations, when sustained, change how the system behaves. Instead of alternating between storage and release, the body remains biased towards storage. This does not mean frequent eating is inherently harmful. It means that in a system that has already lost flexibility, frequent intake reinforces existing patterns. Timing becomes central. Frequent intake reduces the time spent in energy release mode. The body has fewer opportunities to access stored fuel. Over time, it adapts by prioritizing incoming energy rather than internal reserves. This adaptation reshapes experience. Energy may feel stable after eating, but less stable between eating occasions. Hunger appears sooner than expected. Fatigue becomes noticeable when intake is delayed. Focus becomes harder to sustain without reinforcement. This creates dependence. Because energy feels less accessible internally, eating becomes the primary way to restore stability. Because eating restores stability temporarily, the pattern reinforces itself. The system adapts to constant availability rather than flexibility. Over time, this reduces buffering capacity. In a flexible system, delays are absorbed with minimal disruption. In a rigid system, the same delays produce exaggerated responses. Fatigue, hunger, irritability, or discomfort appear quickly. This is not because energy is absent. It is because access is restricted. Frequent eating does not create rigidity on its own. It amplifies rigidity when metabolic flexibility is already reduced. This explains why eating patterns that once felt optional can later feel required. What began as a preference gradually becomes dependence. Importantly, this shift often happens quietly. There is no clear moment where choice disappears. The system adapts gradually, driven by signaling rather than intention. As frequent intake reinforces storage bias, fat loss becomes harder to sustain. Progress depends on narrow conditions. Small disruptions are perceived as stress. Stability becomes fragile. This is why many men feel they must eat just to function, even when energy stores are abundant. Understanding this reframes the issue. The problem is not how often someone eats. The problem is how the system behaves between eating events. Loss of metabolic flexibility reduces tolerance for gaps, variation, and change. In the next video, I will explain how this constant availability reshapes hunger signaling and why appetite becomes less reliable as metabolic rigidity increases. On this channel, I explain metabolism using medical science. This video is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. Always consult your physician.